Dystopia tonight.
Fuck out of town! Fucking treasonous pieces of shit!
Dystopia tonight.
Hey everyone, what's going on? I'm here live with Ernie Hudson, legendary actor and Ghostbuster. Also has a show on Netflix now in its sixth season called Family Business, and you will be in the fifth Toy Story movie. Am I right?
That's right. Yes.
That's going to be, I'm so excited for that because I really don't, like, I thought the last one in the Toy Story series was going to be it.
Right.
But then, I mean, you know, it's Disney, so they're always got something cooking, but it's got to be exciting, man.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you're having kids and grandkids and great grandkids. Anything that I can do that might get their attention because my kids normally don't watch anything that I do. So it's kind of cool, you know, while they're young enough to captivate their minds. It's good.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you know, are you allowed to talk about, is there like a plot to it yet, or is there anything going on with it? Because I know they kind of keep those things under wraps.
They do. Yeah. No, it really is. And honestly, if there's a plot, I don't know what it is. You know, I mean, I work a day and then there's time and then there's time and you come back and you do. So I'm not really quite sure what's going on.
Right. Do you know, do you know what character you play?
Yeah, I played Combat Carl, which is, I didn't know at the time I took the job, but Carl Weathers, I guess, had done the character in not just the Toy Story, but also I think G.I. Joe. He had sort of created the character. And they didn't tell me that. The fans told me that. So,
oh, wow. Okay.
yeah, and and maybe they didn't tell me because they didn't want me to, you know, sort of try to do Carl, which I couldn't do anyway, but so yeah, I kind of found out after I'd already started working on it that Carl had originated the character.
You would think that they would have told you that, Disney, like right off. Like you think that would be something that would be a good talking point to have.
Yeah, you would think. I mean, like I said, the fans picked up a lot of stuff comes out of, you know, the fandom. You know, the people who and I'll find out details of things that somehow I'm not quite sure if maybe they thought it might have been a negotiating point. I might have asked for more money or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
So who knows? You know how the corporate minds, you know, that level of creativity, they sort of operate in a whole different sphere than you know those of us working, you know, doing the the day-to-day work. So. But I don't know.
Absolutely.
It was great to be included, but like I said, I didn't find that out until after.
Are you in the same room with the other actor? Like, I don't know how they do it at this point because I know there's always you know, those video footage from like stuff from the 90s, you know what I mean? Tom Hanks, Tim Allen, Robin Williams, all those guys that are doing Disney voiceover stuff. Are you in the room with anybody or are you doing it solo?
Yeah, doing it so far solo. You know, it's back in the day I did some animated stuff back in the 80s, 70s, 80s, and it was always everybody was in the room. I did a Prime. God, I'm going blank on did the series for like 3 years, but where everybody was I can't believe I can't think. The you know, the trucks turn in.
That happens all the time on here, by the way.
You know, I mean, seriously, that's people say getting older. That's why, you know, names just disappear. But you know, what's the cars and they turn into the
Transformers.
Transformers Prime.
Yeah.
That word. So
you know what we'll do? We'll just edit this in post so it looks like you knew exactly what you were talking about.
Honestly, I don't care. I don't care. As long as I can still remember lines, that's my main thing. Those I can show up and I know and I can learn reams of line pages. But when it comes to a name that I know, it's so. Anyway, and we were all in the room. We would record that way, but now, unfortunately, you know, they put it all together. You go in, you can hear what's been done. They'll play the other person's thing, but you're not there. And I think it makes a difference. It certainly makes it a lot less fun.
Yeah. No, I you know, I can imagine having to do that by yourself, you know what I mean, and only reading off of, whatever, because it's got to be better with your friends, you know what I mean? Do you
Oh
know
yeah.
Tim and Tom? Do you know those guys?
I don't know Tim. Tom, I did an episode of Bosom Buddies back in the, oh God, whenever that was on, 70s, maybe 80s, maybe.
Wow.
I don't know. But he
Yeah,
had
the
a
80s.
series called Bosom Buddies, and I did an
Yeah.
episode, and formed a friendship. And I don't see him very often. Every once in a while, we run into each other. But
Yeah.
but I really like him a lot. Annie Potts, who did Ghostbusters, she plays one of the characters in Toy Story, and
Oh, that's
I'm
right.
sure there are other people who worked on it. But yeah, but I never met. I don't know Tim.
I'm blanking now. Talking about blanking on names or whatever, but the other guy from Bosom Buddies.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Fuck. Again,
yeah.
well, in post, it'll
think
be fine.
yeah, I think he passed away
He did, yeah.
a couple of years ago. Yeah, isn't that awful? I can't think of his name either. But
And if he didn't, we're really sorry. And congrats, you're alive.
Yeah.
No, but I met him. So when I think I was like 20 something years old, and I was coming out of an audition in New York. And I don't know if you have any of these stories where you recognize somebody famous, but you're too you don't know if you should bug them. But came out of an audition, he was on the corner of the street, and I was like, holy shit, that's the dude from Bosom Buddies. Right. And I started to walk up to him to say, hey man, I'm a huge fan, blah blah blah. I just got out of an audition. And as he turned to look at me, I went, so if I go up 38th, am I going to get to and I think he was like, yeah, it's right up the street. And then he was also probably like, and how dare you not fucking recognize me? And I just walked away after that. I was like, I fucking blew that.
Yeah, no, it's people come up, and I think that most of the time, not always, but most of the time, they're a little bit awkward, and they'll say things, and they're a little. So it's sort of an interesting. Probably the worst experience I had. I was just coming out to LA, just starting out. Literally, I'd gotten to LA in a couple of days, and my brother knew a guy named Stu Gilliam. I think he had been in on Sanford and Son, or some TV show. He had a little guest spot on, but he had a shoe store, and my brother knew him. He took me by to introduce me to him, and I went in and I had my portfolio with all the pictures from all the plays I had done. And then this limo pulls up, and this guy gets out, with the fur coat, and he steps out of the limo, and he struts through the store, and I don't know who he is, but he must be somebody important. And so I went over and introduced myself. Hi, my name is Ernie Hudson. He said, man, get the F away from me with that shit.
Holy shit.
And I said, I ain't got time for that. And he was really, really rude. And he probably wasn't even an actor or anybody. I just thought he must be, because he's in a limo, and he's so but I was really embarrassed, but I was more embarrassed because my brother was with me, and I thought I'll never do that to somebody. So I try to be conscious of. But sometimes people can catch you in the weirdest times, and you're not necessarily on your best, and then they want you to sort of, and this is a moment they'll carry with them and they'll talk about. Yep. So I try to be conscious of, but everybody has their days, So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Are you good with, at this point in your career, do you care about being on set with somebody that you've never met before? Do you get starstruck as an actor at this point in your career, or are you just kind of
Yeah, no, I've been doing it for, going on 60 years. And, I've worked with a lot of people. I don't tend to, I do tend to maybe be a little shy around, when I was doing Grace and Frankie with Lily Tomlin, Jane Fonda, those guys, because I don't know, I sometimes assume they don't really want to be bothered or don't want to. So it takes me a little while to sort of get the clues that it's okay for me to sort of chime in and be a part of it. So in different people kind of, they want their private time, how they sort of, get into their thing. I'm always a little bit aware of that. But generally speaking, there's nobody who I'm sort of jumping up and down to sort of shake hands with and say hello. and I get a lot of young people coming up to me because, Ghostbusters was over 40 years ago. A lot of the films they did was 30, 40 years ago. And and they're a little awkward and they're a little kind of a little nervous about, but none of it really makes any sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've always, I think what we do, I've always seen it as as a job. Is sort of that's what we do for a living, and I don't really get why it should be, you know, praiseworthy, but I'm thankful that people do, find it interesting. I mean, it's certainly,
Yeah.
but I don't understand. I can't quite make sense out of, how I'm supposed to, draw something special out of this. Other, no different than if I was doing some other kind of work. But I mean, I'm
Yeah.
thankful, but I don't really understand, you know.
Well, it is kind of weird. You hit the nail on the head there with how it's changed, like over, I guess, the decades of just how you're supposed to act, or I guess, and how you're supposed to be as a celebrity and what your role necessarily is now, which is so kind of like, I'm always mixed. Like as a comedian, like I have to have, you're expected to have these opinions and you go on stage and that's the kind of thing you're going to do. I personally don't necessarily expect that from actors or any other thing, but it does seem like because of the social media thing, if you've got a platform, you're expected to fucking have a hot take on whatever the topics are. Like, I mean, I don't know if you feel any pressure for that kind of shit, or are you just like, how do you state you kind of, I think I don't see you weighing in too much. Which brings me to Israel Palestine. No, I'm just kidding. But but you know what I mean, like you kind of steer like it is that a preferential thing or just how you feel about like your job in general?
Well, I think it's just how I feel about my job in general. And certainly I have an opinion about a lot of things, but I don't necessarily, I mean, it's just my opinion. And if nobody's asking, I'm not, trying to volunteer or try to, I mean, I'm pretty clear about where I am with it, but I'm not, and I think if it comes up, if somebody asks, or if I find a need to sort of make a stand about something, but generally speaking, I think people kind of see things the way they see it and not really all that interested in my, and the stuff that they come up and ask me about is usually not something necessarily important. Or what do you think about, something? It's more their personal stuff, I think, so I just, it's I'm a guy who works and, I'm an actor. That's what I do. I don't really think my opinion should weigh any, heavier than if I was doing some other job. I mean, but that's how I see it. Now, some people say, we have a responsibility. And I go, really? Well, I do? So
because it's so fucked up because you're like, you want to get into any of this kind of stuff just to entertain. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, we're doing it. You know what's crazy too? Like even comedians, like I never see anything in the news about a comedian's special anymore, or like a joke or something that was necessarily funny. It's always just something incendiary that one of us has said about a serious topic. That's not like there's no, and I'm just like, God, is this what you have to do now? And it's almost like I'm waiting for it to become the new hack. You know what I mean? Where I'm like, oh, are you talking about the news, you fucking loser? You know what I mean? But it never stops. So I don't know.
No, that's I don't know, which is why I don't really do a lot of social media. I mean, I don't really, there are people who will post things when it needs to be done, but I don't want to get into it because I know I'll express something, say something, I'll get taken out of context. And suddenly, and I'm fine if it does, but other people get really worked up over stuff. And I kind of go, really, I was talking about it. You can never sort of explain it after the fact that makes any sense. So I just, just kind of keep my opinion to myself, unless I'm asked,
I don't blame you.
So,
Well, I mean, the things that I do, I'm always interested in actors and stuff like that, kind of weighing in on is just the nature of the business in general. I mean, I just read something the other day where they were talking about, I can't think of the term for this now, but it's something to do with the way they're writing certain scripts or certain TV shows. And I'm curious to see if you've come across this, where they're writing it for people based on how often people are looking on their phones so they can still pay attention to the plot. So it's like you basically have to have a character in a show that is kind of explaining everything. Like they're not talking naturally. Do you have an opinion? Have you come across that while you're doing shit and you're like, I'm not.
Well, I think a lot of times, I do a show. Well, I should probably mention, but anyway, I think a lot of the procedural shows, they tend to, because they want you to sort of stay in the story and this is what's happening. So you kind of need to, and I get why some of that is necessary. I haven't had to do a lot of that with the shows that I do, or the characters that I play. I mean, Boston Blue is a police procedural show.
Sure.
But I play the patriarch, who's not in the police business. So I don't get a lot of it. But yeah, I think you'll probably see even more of that. And, that's, if it doesn't take you too far out of it, because sometimes you're almost not even in character. You just have to describe what happened before and where we are in the story so that people don't get lost, and it's already basic to begin with. So.
Yeah. Are you ever kind of amazed when you read something like that though, and they're like, "This is what the people want," and you're like, "What? I don't fucking know anybody that's like, you know what I mean? Like I've talked to, I'm a people. I talk to other people. I don't want that. I want, But it does seem like they kind of frame things as like it being out of our control, and I always kind of just be like, "Aren't you the ones with all the fucking money though? Can't you just make shit and make the stuff you want?"
Yeah, no, you're right. I think it's, but trying to please everybody, or certainly if there's an audience that they think won't, so they want to make sure that this particular audience who they consider their base is getting, what they need, and the hell with the rest of us. So it gets a little bit, like that. I go, okay, well, and I don't question a lot. You know what I mean? I think when you take a role, unless something really bothers me, or something's really out of character, but I'll try to make it make sense. I mean, if the
Nope, I think I lost your audio there.
So I just can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, if it doesn't take me out of character, then it's okay. Then I guess I can I mean, it's but and I'll try to make it work. And there's some things that I kind of go, this makes no sense. And why are we doing this? And and who is this for? Because they've seen that, so we don't have to. But if there's any way I'm one of those actors, I'll bend over backwards to just try to make these words make sense, even though a lot of times it makes no sense to me. I've done shows where I go, I don't even know what the hell we're talking about. I mean, I'm saying the words, and hopefully it'll land and it'll make sense. And a lot of times it does. A lot of times, I look at the scene, I kind of go, oh, okay, it did kind of work. But but
I was talking to Paul Reiser about that on Stranger Things, and he was like, they just put me in front of that fucking green screen, and I say a bunch of sciencey shit, and I go home.
Yeah. That I think on stage, obviously it's a little bit different. I mean, because you don't have the green screen, and you're there, the audience is there, and it's got to be, but when you can do 20 takes on a line.
Right.
And not taking anything away from it, because it definitely is work, but and you want to trust the writers. Sometimes you get really good writers, and we did Oz, and Tom Fontana's just a wonderful writer. So and I can trust them. But sometimes the writing is really, when they said they wrote it overnight, it was written overnight. It's just not a lot of thought. And a lot of actors will just rewrite it. I don't do that.
Right.
But I get why. There have been times that I went like, okay, can we just how about we do it like this? But you want to work with good writers, because it makes all the difference.
Yeah. Are you at the point in your career where you're really not auditioning that much anymore for a role? Like if they want you, or if they know you, they're just like, we want an Ernie Hudson.
Yeah, that happened probably maybe about 10 years ago.
Nice.
Where you kind of go in and you audition and you do this dance, and auditioning is really awkward. I used to always feel like you kind of walk into a room and you stand there, and then, you pull your pants down, and you say a few words, and then they say okay, and you pull your pants up awkwardly, and then you walk out the room, and it just feels so
right.
And then you don't get the job. It's like, oh, okay, but
and no one tells you what was wrong with what they saw when you pulled your pants down. You're like, just give me something.
Yeah, no, you never know. I always say when you're working, you never know why you got the job. Not really. And when you're not working, you don't know why you didn't get the job. It's so. So now my thing is, and a lot of times I think they will already know who they want, but let's just bring all these people in, just in case. So my thing is, I've done a lot of work over the years. If you don't know if you want to work with me, then that's okay. I get that, but I'm not going to study this script for 2 or 3 days just to come in and then put everything out there and then not get the job. It's humiliating. No. So I want to work with people who want to work with me, and if they're not sure, then they can get somebody else. And I've gotten to a point where I kind of go, you know what, it's okay. I mean, I really mean that. I don't have to have the job to feed the kids like I did when I first started. I was a single dad with 2 sons, so I got to get this job. I don't really have to do this job, and if I do it, I want to do it because I want to.
Sure. Yeah.
And because you want me, and you're not sitting there wishing you had gotten Danny Glover or somebody.
Yeah. No, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. And that had to have happened. I mean, did you feel like you were competitive at that point with certain actors? Because I know I've talked to some people who really had the mindset of almost hating other people before they knew it, because they would see them all the time in these casting auditions, like, fuck this fucking guy again, you know what I mean? And then, but did you keep kind of, because you seem very zen, by the way, and I don't know if that's just a years in the business thing or.
Well, maybe, I think you just have to find a way to sort of make peace with something, because there does seem a time when there's certain guys who are getting all the roles, and it's almost like, to me, when I was a kid, and you like a girl and you want to be your girlfriend, but she chooses somebody else, but you look at this guy and you're going to go, why him instead of, and I think with acting, it's like I could do so much with that role, and then they would cast somebody else. And so it's, so it's kind of, it feels personal, but then you also learn how to, I realize that certain things were not meant for me to do, and sometimes it's best somebody else, and, just,
that's a good headspace.
So you just kind of, and speaking of Carl Weathers, I remember I was doing a television show. I was auditioning for a television show called 10/8, and he was in the room. And we were all kind of going up for the role, and I got the role. And then he called me. I didn't really know him at that time. I didn't know him personally, but he somehow got my number, called me, and congratulated me on getting the role. And I thought it was really, very, very cool of him to do that. So
that is really sweet.
Yeah. So if it's something that I didn't get, even though I don't understand why anyone would choose anyone but me, it's okay. And then sometimes there's certain roles out there that I go, they did something with that role that I would. Tony Todd did a Candyman, and when they sent me the script, it made no sense to me whatsoever, and I thought, no way. And then I saw what he did with it. I thought, yeah, he was meant to do that. It wasn't. That's not. Sometimes you're not necessarily right for everything, even though you feel like you are.
Yeah. No, I mean, I get. Is there anything at this point where you're like kicking yourself for not taking the thing, like like an Independence Day or
Yeah, no, I wish. People say, "Well, you really made great choices in your career." And there haven't been a lot of choices.
Yeah.
There haven't been a lot. That's been what's been offered. I got turned down all these wonderful parts. But Shonda Rhimes was doing Grey's Anatomy, and I met with her, and I thought the meeting went well. I just finished a series for ABC, and then they wanted me to come in and read to audition for the part. And I just thought, audition. I mean, she knows who I am. They know who I am. I've already done the show for the network, and so I refused to read. And of course, that was Bill Pickens who got it. Another actor got the part, and now 20 years later. I kind of regret not so much.
Was it Dr. Weber?
Yeah, he's the chief of staff.
Ah,
Because I didn't get the part, I refused to look at the show. But it's yeah. So that sometimes there are things that you kind of look at and you kind of go, it would have been. But nobody's out and out offering me something where I look back and say, man, I wish I'd taken that.
yeah, yeah.
You
We
know.
got somebody in the comments who's watching said, might be showing my age here, but I know Ernie Hudson, this is Jackie, as Ricky's therapist from Secret Life of the American Teenager.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. It was one of those kind of weird but fun things to do. I love the cast. Molly Ringwald was somebody's mom, and I think I was
Hmm.
her therapist. It was the first time we worked. We did a movie called Space Hunter together when she was just a kid, really.
Oh,
And
wow.
so it's always fun to kind of see people as they grow up and get a chance to work with them again. But yeah, I had fun working on that show. It was definitely different.
You guys got to put together, excuse me, I'll cut that out too. You guys got to put together a Ghostbusters documentary because that seems to be like the thing now about it. Like you said, Molly Ringwald, and I just thought of the Rat Pack documentary that they all went through together. You
Right.
guys got to get, like I know you're putting out movies and stuff like that, but the docu-series seems to be the thing. You got to really tell
Yeah.
people how you felt. You know what I mean? You got to open up. You got to really, because people love that shit. Make up some drama.
Right. Yeah.
Get into a fight with Bill Murray, even if you didn't, just do it.
Yes,
It worked well for Chevy.
That's true. In fact, I just saw Charlie Sheen's documentary, which is kind of interesting. Because you always wonder about things. How'd that happen? What was going on then? What was really going on? So that might happen at some point. But we'll see.
Yeah, I just saw the John Candy one. Have you seen that one?
No, I haven't seen it. I thought somebody told me I think I'm in it. Maybe.
Yeah, you are.
Briefly or something. I think, yeah, John was. That was. Yeah, I really. I mean, I loved working with him. I didn't really know him really well, but we kind of. It was great working with him. I play a dead body through most of the movie.
Yeah,
he drags around, in the show.
Right.
But yeah, just him and Chris Farley. I kind of felt about Chris Farley. I worked with him on Airheads, and they both just transitioned, too early, but really tremendous talent. I felt.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was a good documentary, but it was I was not ready for how sad. You ever you can see somebody that brings you unlimited joy, and you're like, oh my god, they made a documentary about him, but they really went for the critically.
Yeah.
So, but it was great. It was a good documentary, but I was like, well, I'm fucking depressed now. I was like, he did comedies for fuck's sake. But it was good. It was really good. It was just god damn, heartbreaking.
What gets me with those things is, you start out and you want more than anything to do this thing, to be that top comedian or musician or actor or whatever. And that's a dream. And you think, if I ever realize that, life is going to be marvelous and wonderful.
Yeah.
And then you see these people who sort of reach that pinnacle, and it's not wonderful. It's, and I thought, wow, because I haven't reached that pinnacle yet, but I would think that,
that's crazy that you just said that, because to me you have. So I.
Oh, that's once again, I have no idea. I've reached the pinnacle of being a working actor, so I'm very, very thankful for that. But just in terms of, you see people and they're, all the things that the media says, which isn't true, because the media says a lot of things about me that is absolutely not. They make up stories, and you go, really? I saw one, Ernie Hudson's real lifestyle, and they had superimposed me and my wife in this huge, it looked like a house that was a mansion, and there was 2 Rolls Royces out front. And I'm like, where did you get this stuff? And so a lot of stuff that we see online isn't true. But but I think to find the joy of it is, and if you're doing it to get to that place, and you don't already have it, then it becomes a problem, because you're looking forward in something or someone that's going to make it all okay. So you got to find a way to be okay now and carry that with you, because otherwise it is tragic.
Is there any, I mean, you've, I know you lost your mom at a young age, and you had gone into the Marine Corps, and then you had basically gone, I think, directly into acting. You've gone into an acting school from that. Is there any part of that that you've carried with you all the way that has kind of helped you? Because again, you do have a very Zen-like, very great approach to your career, your family, your life, but you had all these things that happened to you when you were so young. Is that where you kind of get that? Like, you carry all those lessons with you into this?
Yeah, I think so. And I think a lot of it just has to do with sort of, that overview of how you look at life. And for me, it's just when I look at how I started, it's just a blessing to be alive. It's a blessing
Mm,
to get to just have this experience, whatever it looks like. I mean,
sure.
this is and so you kind of you're always aware of that. And I think there's some people call it belief in ancestors or create whatever that thing that's greater than you that sort of carries you through this stuff that sort of allows you to hold on to something even though there doesn't seem to be anything around you to hold on to. Um, to
You
me,
mean like
that's
now, today?
you like
Like
now today.
in
Yeah.
this current climate?
Oh my God. Just but at some point there's some kind of meaning. There's something in here. I think that is what kind of keeps you sane. I think you know
Yeah.
that's what I mean. That's kind of how I look at it. And I've always just really been appreciative of, I mean, just to even be able to, I used to think if I could just be in a movie, just to get a chance to act, if I could just get on stage. And now you're doing that. And it's like, I still think it's pretty cool, that
Yeah.
to be able to live your life and I'm so thankful I get to be me. You know what I mean? I really like me a lot. I think it's
Yeah.
important
Yeah.
to whatever it takes to talk yourself into it, but you really got to like yourself. And if you don't, this thing falls out of my ear. If you don't, then there's a problem. I think.
Yeah. Absolutely, man. Um, Speaking of that kind of a thing, that kind of mentality, liking yourself, is there the confidence you have to go into this kind of career? I feel it's kind of insane, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
to be the only person in a room, or even for me, like, even to be on stage in front of a bunch of people and be like, yeah, no, there's 200 people here, but I deserve to speak,
Right.
is kind of a level of insanity. Do you how do you manage your family life versus your acting life and the performing world and stuff like that too? Like, were there lessons you taught your kids, or maybe they even taught you about kind of bringing you back down from, because we all get pretty high up into our
Yeah.
own,
Yeah.
egos, try to, like, what's the calming factor in your life that kind of, brings you back down to earth?
Yeah. I think family. My wife has always been very, just the work is the work, and then your life is your life, and
Hmm.
I think my kids probably, I won't say they've seen some of the stuff, but they certainly don't. Oh, you're on TV, we're gonna watch, or oh, you're in a movie, we're gonna go. Not my
Right.
kids. So I think that kind of is always a reminder. But you do the work and you let it go. I mean, I don't. I'm so thankful to have that, but it's
Hmm.
it's just kind of what I do. But on the other side, who I am. My wife, my kids, my friends, whatever. It's for I can I can departmentalize and say, okay, that's over there, and it makes perfect sense to me. But it doesn't always with family or with friends because they don't separate the two.
Sure.
Yeah, so I don't. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that answered the question, but
Yeah. Yeah.
just yeah, and also I think I've always believed in. I always hesitate to say God, but this greater source that I've really was taught to believe in,
Hmm.
and not sort of put it on myself that I did all these things and look at what I overcame and I did this or that. I know that I've always been assisted, and not I've been assisted by people, but they weren't the the originator of that help. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I didn't trust people. I didn't trust anybody in the business to do something for me.
Right. Right.
Um,
Right.
but I know it'll be done. And so having that faith in something greater than you that is, that is arranging things and guiding you, to me, it's crucial. Without that, I don't know, because then
Mm.
you're bargaining, you're negotiating, you're pleading for something for someone, and the someones have always come up a little short. But there's something else that goes on that opens a door in places that I had no imagined. I couldn't imagine what opened, and suddenly it's there. And
Right.
so I believe in something greater, and I don't go say that to say I'm somebody's, joining somebody's church or religious idea. All that's nice, but I think we all have a guide. We all have a source that wants us to live our best life. And
Hmm.
so I've always said, okay, let me if I can be blessed to do this, then certainly I should honor it by living a healthy, life, whatever that means.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've been you mentioned your wife. Is there like a small daily habit that you guys have that because you guys have been married for a while that have kept you guys like something that you
Yeah.
guys do that keeps the glue together? You know what I mean? That keeps together that you can kind of give anybody a nugget of wisdom.
Yeah, I mean, we get up in the morning and we always have our sort of about an hour, coffee together. We talk about any and everything. I'm not. I mean, that's kind of something we do pretty much, unless I'm, have to be at work or something. But I think just, we've been together long enough now. It'll be 50 years next May, but we've
Congrats.
been married for 41. But I think you reach a point where whatever that dream that she wants, I really want to see her have. I really want her to realize that as much as I want to realize the things for me. That her dreams and goals are just as important, in some ways, even more important than mine, because I've been blessed with, I mean, pretty much everything I could have, dreamed of from the beginning. And so
Right.
I want her to, and if that makes her happy, even though it feels a little like I'm, a little uncomfortable or whatever, it's worth it to me that to see her um, realize that. And I think she probably feels, the same way. And I trust her, just judgment, her opinion, her input,
Mm.
um, as much as anybody, you know.
Beautiful, man. That's incredible, man. And congratulations on 41. You said 41 years?
Yeah, 41 years of marriage and 50 years of being together. It took almost 10 years to. The first marriage is a little difficult, but
Right,
also
right.
I was so immature, and I mentioned the other day on the show that it took me about 20 years or longer to grow
Mm.
up, and she was patient enough to allow me that space, and I'm sure it
Wow.
was the other way as well, but um, because I had to, when I say learn, because sometimes you'll admit to things even though you don't really agree that there was something wrong. I had
Right,
to
right,
come to an
right.
understanding that, you know what, yeah, I can do better.
Oh
And so it
man,
was
that
always
is
that
so true.
wanting to do better that I go, you
Yeah.
know what, it's yeah, I get it. And I didn't get
Right,
what
right,
being
right.
a husband in the beginning. I didn't really have an example of what a marriage looked like,
Sure.
um, in the way the examples that I had in my life. So it took
Hmm.
me a while to kind of go, so what does that really look like? What does it really mean? I know what we say it does, but do I really, is this real? It took a while, but
Yeah.
you know,
Absolutely. I have a couple of questions from other fans that have been watching.
sure.
Yeah, from Christian Cordes. Is there a role in your early career that you initially viewed as just a gig, but upon reflection, you're shocked you had such an amazing opportunity to be surrounded by legendary character actors and actresses?
Yeah, almost every job. I mean, people say, which job did you like best? I kind of like them all because they're all so. The wonderful thing about what I do is every job is uniquely different. It's a different cast, different director,
Mm,
a different location, different script. It's so they're all kind of, and so just being on the set, it was like just really very cool. I got a chance. I was in a film that Laurence Olivier, the jazz singer with Neil Diamond, and
oh,
Laurence Olivier was on it. And we didn't work in the scene together, but just meeting him, I did a movie called White Mama with Betty Davis, and Jackie Cooper, who was a kid actor and who was directing. I worked with so many people who I was just so honored, just really to be in the company, to just to be a part of, so just the joy of, wow, I get to do this, and and I get to see their best, and I get a chance to to bring my best, and yeah. I'm not sure if I got to the question, but
No, you did.
yeah, I think, yeah, because this is what you say you wanted. This is what I started out. It took me a long time to realize where my place was or what my purpose was. I worked all kinds of jobs and nothing really fit. And when I discovered theater and acting, it was like, wow. And I still feel that way about it. Now sometimes the roles, the problem I have is a lot of jobs, they don't want everything that I have to bring, because
Sure.
the story is about something else or someone else, and we want you to come in and deliver this information and get the hell out of the way so we can get on with our story.
Yeah.
And you want to bring everything, and it's like, oh, Ernie, it's just, So still looking for that role. On stage, I did The Great White Hope for about 3 years. Did it in Minneapolis at Theater in the Round, at the Missouri Repertory Theater. We came out to Los Angeles. We did it at the Inner City Cultural Center. And that role demanded everything. And it changed my life. And I haven't found that in movies or TV yet, but I'm still looking. Yeah.
It is crazy when you do something like that and you still wind up chasing it.
Yeah, because it's you sort of get in that space. When you're really there, it's I don't know, it's I don't want to say out of body, but there's something. It's like there's another place you go to, and you always want to get to that place. Now they say your craft, you want to study enough, so even when you think you're bad, you're still good enough to where you know what I mean. It's like your worst is
I
okay,
know. Yeah.
So you don't want to ever be bad, but sometimes, when you just go, yeah, this is, and so, and I think the reason I kept acting as opposed to directing and writing is because you want to. I haven't quite got it,
Yeah.
So that's why we do what we do, I guess.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. And it's funny that you said, the thing about, I mean, I've been doing stand-up for 20 years, and like, I'll look, I don't even know why I still have these. I should fucking burn them all, but I will look back on older tapes and I'm like, how did I not stop then? Like, like, I'm like, how like, you just realize the delusion you have to have,
right.
in order to keep going. Cause you're like, Jesus fucking Christ. Like, I was bringing people to this shit. Like, and then, but thankfully, you do get better, but you are always chasing, like I remember my first time on stage and I loved it and it went really well. And then of course, subsequently the next night bombed my ass off, but like, but it was so good the first fucking time. And I had such a blast that in my head, I was like, I've got to get back to that again. And then you find different points in your career where you're like, well, this is better than anything I've done before. Now you're chasing that thing, but it all keeps you going.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's I tried stand up for maybe a couple of years, and man, that's a challenge. And I already had the acting. And I'm like, what? Being out here every night, I don't have to do this. I can. It's like, I go, this is. I don't think so. But I was.
Do you remember?
Dad. I was a single dad, so I had to get back to the kids, but I would, we'd go out and it was. It was Variety Arts, it was Igby's, it was 4 or 5 clubs here in LA. So you go to one and try to get that little 5 minutes on stage, and you try your stuff, and you jump in your car and you drive over to the next place. I did that, and I thought, man, this is but like I said, I was already making a living as an actor, and that's
No, that's pretty. Every
comedian I knew it got picked up on a television show. I thought, well, maybe I should have stuck with the comedy. I don't know, but
I know. They were handing those out like fucking college degrees back in the 80s, you know? Like if you were a comedian and you had like a good 5 minutes, you got a TV show.
Right. Yeah.
And now they don't even. I'm so fucking annoyed, dude. Like it was like whenever I read, like I was such a comedy nerd and I read, every comedy book I could get my hands on about all these guys who were like, oh, Rodney would help us out, about no one's fucking helping other, like it's like, have you tried starting a podcast? And it's like, you just kill me that, I mean, no, not that this is great, but but like it is a weird, like, it is also funny that people use like, or have used stand up to transition into just better we're all like, I'll tell dick jokes for a few nights and then maybe something better will happen, and then but it's true. I mean, you were already a working actor. That's pretty great. That you did that in almost reverse. Where you're like, I'm gonna try this shit out. Do you remember any of your jokes?
Not really. Not I want to stay here. It was, I saw a lady. She told me this is a couple years ago. She said, I remember you. I saw you at the comedy club. She said, you were awful. You were really awful. So. But
that's great.
I'm funny, but it's not in jokes. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I love to spin stories. I love to whatever. But
yeah.
So it just that wasn't meant to be my
sure.
Yeah, direction. And it was but what amazes me about comedy is you see somebody and they just kill it, man. It's so funny. And then you go back the next night and different audience and same jokes, and when you die on stage in comedy, that's real death. I mean, that's maybe in theater, you get a little sense of that, but there's nothing like being out there on your own, standing in front of a crowd, and nothing is landing. So I just have a lot of respect for comedians. That can be rough.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it is, and especially when you, like you just described, you do it one night. Or several, like, so let's say you do 1,000 shows a year or whatever. And my friend and I talk about this all the time. There is literally the one that you'll never forget. And it's the one where nothing's fucking working. And you want to be like, guys, I just did this yesterday, like 14 hours ago. And it was good. And they're like, yeah, okay, guy, and you're just like, no, and you can't figure it out. There's no science to it.
Absolutely.
It's just, you're like, am I wording it differently? Or the minute, an audience smells like fear or like, that something's off on you, they're like, fuck this guy.
No, that's true. Yeah. And that's what I think takes a lot of people out. If you got the heart to come back after that, then that says a lot, because a lot of people.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
or the stupidity. You said heart, but I'm also thinking it's pretty fucking stupid. I'm also always envious of like my friends who are in bands and like these, whatever, because they get to have this patter on stage, and but it doesn't matter if no one laughs. They're like, and here's that hit you love, and then they just start playing it, and you're like, oh, come on, man, this isn't fair. And when both land, I'm like, oh, you get to be fucking funny and get laid for playing a song about love, you piece of shit. Like, this is killing me.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. That I think you're out there and with acting, I gotta sell somebody else's. It's supposed to be funny. They think it's funny. It's not funny. So that you don't have that freedom. In the same way, so yeah.
It's I got another question from Christian. Which of your many former co-stars do you think would make an amazing Ghostbuster?
Oh wow,
it's a good one.
Geez, yeah, no, my former co-stars, God, I don't know. Raymond Lee. We did Quantum Leap.
Oh yeah.
He'd be a fun Ghostbuster. He'd be he'd be fun. I just saw Brendan Fraser about a couple weeks. It was a couple weeks ago, and he's having a great sort of resurgence in his career. But I think he'd make a good Ghostbuster now. Very different, I think yeah, it was so much personality in the first two that it's a little
Yeah.
hard to get that. But people who kind of have their own unique rhythm and could be funny. But I work with a lot of people who, I just honestly can't think of anybody right now. I'm still trying to get the gig myself, so.
Yeah, you got the cartoon coming out now, right?
Yeah, the cartoon's coming out, and it should be fun. I think they got a 3-season pickup. But yeah, it's Ghostbusters. It's been interesting. It's been a interesting 40+ year ride. Ever since it opened, it's always been some part of my life, almost on a daily basis. So it's really kind of cool in a lot of ways, and
Yeah. This is the first time you get to actually voice your character in the cartoon, though, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, the original, and I'm not quite sure why, and the studios try to explain. I think the director of the original cartoon wanted Arsenio, but they had to kind of offer it to me, and so they asked me would I come in and read. He wanted to hear my voice, not to audition for the part, just he wanted to
Sure.
hear my voice, and so I was in there reading, and he stopped me. He said, "No, no." He said, "You got to do it." When Ernie Hudson did the movie, and he was telling me what Ernie Hudson did, and I thought, "Is this guy?" And I was doing something. I think I had like 3 days left on the shoot, and then I found out they had already cast Arsenio, and I went, "Well, what happened?" They said, "Well, you
Wow.
were working, so we didn't think you wanted to do it because Bill and Danny, and Harold, they didn't want to." And I'm like, yeah, but I need the job. They didn't necessarily need the job. So it never really felt right. And but I like Arsenio, and
Yeah.
if anybody, I'm happy, but I was, yeah, just a little never quite understood. Back in those days, there were a lot of things that happened that I didn't understand. But once again, you trust in that greater power, and you kind of go, okay, there must be a reason for this,
Yeah.
and you move on to the next thing.
Yeah, absolutely, man. My buddy Christian Cortez is actually doing his own short film called Ghostbuster Down. He wrote a great script because he had heard you in an interview say you would love to see other people's renditions or different like kind of open up the Ghostbuster world almost the same way expansively that Star Wars had, something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And he immediately had this idea about a bunch of 20-somethings who wind up stumbling upon a Ghostbuster that had died, like zombified or some to some extent. I don't want to give too much away, but in the woods or whatever. So they find like him, they stumble upon him, and he winds up being this rogue Ghostbuster who they have to stop, and they don't know what happened, and basically like your team is kind of aware of it or something to that effect. But it's really a fun version of it, and they just got bankrolled to they got somebody
Oh,
funding
wow.
it to do it, so they're shooting it. They're gonna start shooting it soon, and it's really awesome.
Yeah, no, I think I think the Ghostbuster. I mean, yeah. I mean, it should be well, a lot more expansive. I'd love to see it not just move into different other areas, but I mean, just that whole. I'd like to see it opened up more. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it could be, I mean, it's got, I mean, you brought Paul Rudd in, you know what I mean, which is actually kind of cool, and almost made him like a pseudo by default, you know what I mean? But it's cool to see like how it kind of envelops other people in the world, because it is one of those things that's like, you're in New York. Of course there's going to be, other shit going on and people trying to either mimic you, whatever. So it's kind of fun to play with.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, no matter where, no matter where you go in the world, they all have their ghost stories, and
Yeah. Have you seen a ghost for real?
I think there are things that happen we can't explain. Our, rational mind will tell us, oh, it must have been just a light. I look back on moments that I was kind of freaked out, and was that a ghost? Was it not? I
Yeah.
I don't know, but I never had a ghost come and sit down and have a cup of coffee. You know, I never had a ghost just really clearly just come up and say hello.
Yeah,
And so you know why, you know, I feel the presence. I look, I see something move. I was shooting. Oh, geez, I can't think of the name of the movie now, but we were Speechless. I was shooting a movie called Speechless with Gina Davis and Michael Keaton, and they
yeah.
were shooting in Hollywood. They put me up at the Roosevelt Hotel, and about 3 o'clock in the morning, I heard something rumbling in the bathroom, and I woke up and I saw, looked like somebody darted across the room. You know, I turned the light on, and then I just started to freak out. So I tried to go back to bed, and then I heard this, and then I thought, oh no. So I got up and checked out of the hotel at 3 in the morning. You know, there are times when, but now I think I've reached a point where if there is something, I'd be probably more curious, I think, than afraid.
Yeah.
But I grew up, you know, very much believing in spirits and ghosts and visitations and all that. So
Yeah.
it's very different than the old days. You know, my grandmother raised me, and they from the South. They had stories. You know.
Yeah. It is weird that, like, back in the day, I swear to God, every great aunt, uncle, you know, great grandpa had some kind of, like, I mean, just I remember sitting around the table and people just telling us, and this is in Brooklyn, by the way, not even in the deep south, just people in, like, you know, and it could have been anything, you know, it could have been a homeless guy, but you don't know, but they had the way they told these stories were so good that it scared the shit out of you when you were a kid. But for me, like, it's the same thing where I'm like, I don't know what it is now, if everything's kind of demystified, but I'm hoping something crawls out of the ocean, or you know what I mean, just something cool, like even that interstellar object, man. I'm hoping it's filled with weird octopi. I don't know, you know, like whatever, just something to distract us. That'd be great.
Need something, because we are not good with ourselves. I mean,
no.
It's like
no. This is one planet that should not have been left alone to its own devices.
No.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime I watch that shit on, like, the History Channel, which is like Ancient Aliens or whatever, and they're like, they came here but they left. I'm like, they should have never left. Anybody who was like, they'll be fine, wrong.
Right.
Absolutely wrong. We were not fine. Oh my God. Are you good with, like, so, like, just the Halloween must be nuts when you were younger, you know, when your kids were younger at your house, because you're a Ghostbuster. Like, did you ever have, like, were you giving out candy and people were just losing their fucking mind, or like, did you just, you know, go with your kids' friends' house, you know what I mean, like as your character, like, did you fuck around like that? Like, how was that?
Only did one Halloween. I put on the Ghostbuster jumpsuit, and I thought it'd be kind of fun to greet the kids. I never did. I only did it once, because when Halloween is over, they know you live there and they want to come back again and again and again. And it's like, you don't want people to know this is where I live, and just walk right up, you know, because people will just show up and walk right in. So
sure.
But I used to, when my kids were small, you know, when they were really at that age where they enjoyed it, I lived in a town called Hidden Hills here in California, and we had a little golf cart, and the whole town would turn. Halloween was a big night, and it was fun, and you stop by different houses. But that was the only time I think I was really into the Halloween spirit. But that was a very closed, gated little community where everything was kind of safe, and it was really kind of cool. So, but as a kid, I was never that much into, I think, Halloween.
I gotta ask, because I know one of your sons is a watchmaker, right?
Yes, my youngest son.
Do you remember a story you told me about a watch he made you and an actor? Because it sticks with me, and I remember this every time. But basically, you were on set with Nick Cage, and he had a watch that he was showing off, and you liked it, so you had your son make you the watch, and you said Nick Cage was kind of like just like annoyed. Have you ever heard from him? Did you ever see him again?
You mean Nick?
Yeah.
We never talked about that. I think I ran into him one time. We said hello, but yeah, it was funny because he was showing me this watch. My son didn't make the watch. It was a kind of a rare watch that Nick said you couldn't find. And so I told my son about it. So, oh yeah, Dad. So he went and he found it. And I was so excited. I thought Nick would be happy for me. And then he said, "Oh yeah, just like how dare you?" I'm sure he threw his away after that. Well, once I had one, it was no value at all.
Oh God! Well, this is fucking useless. Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah, I love that could have been a bonding moment, but instead it was just a disaster.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, he kind of just the look on his face, and then that moment it took me to realize he wasn't happy. He was kind of really kind of disappointed. But
Do you still have the watch?
Yeah, so I have a lot
that's
of
great.
watches. Problem with watches, you can only wear one, and
yeah,
so you just you spend a lot of money for them, and I kind of go, you know what, why? There's a lot of things I can do with his money, and buying another watch, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
but you have to kind of get to that point. It's almost like the thing you think you want, and then finally you get enough of it, and you kind of go, this is stupid.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I got to ask you the last 3 questions that I ask every guest on the show, but I want to thank you for coming back on with me, man. I really appreciate you doing that and spending time.
Appreciate you inviting me. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. First question is, if you can go back in time and talk to your younger self, what piece of advice would you give yourself that would help you today?
Wow, that I think don't worry. It's all going to work out perfectly. You don't have to, you don't have to stress over it.
Nice.
I mean, you don't have to. I mean, I worked hard. I wouldn't work any less hard, but I wouldn't work out of so much, anxiety. Just hoping it would, just hoping, and just, just because you don't know, the kids got to be fed, and the rent's due, and just will I ever, get to this place? Will I live long enough to? I think it was a little easier about it. I think I was in general, but I think I would a lot less stress.
Yeah.
But maybe if I hadn't been this stressed, maybe I wouldn't have worked as hard. I don't know.
I do like the idea of your adult self going back to whatever age, like, 10-year-old you, and being like, don't stress, but also just a little, just enough so you don't fuck up the future, but also relax.
Yeah, relax. Yeah, just know that, because we don't know. It's the unknowing, that you reach a point, especially you come up in, certain conditions where you go, I don't know how I'm going to get out of this, but there's got to be a way. I got to find a way out, and no, it's just don't panic and do something stupid. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
So I think, I it's hard for me to imagine me as in my earlier stages. Sometimes I'll see a movie and I'll kind of go, whoa, it's kind of like new skin. Jeez, I mean, something about the glow of youth is just so different.
Sure.
But
I'll tell you this though, man, you blew up about a year ago, right? Or maybe even less than a year ago, because of how fucking crazy in good shape you look the same, man. It's nuts.
I hear that, and but I feel every bit of my however many years, my almost 80 years, but I've been very, very fortunate, that way. It's interesting that people notice now because it took 80 years for people to, but I don't think it was so much the physicality as much as there were things that I thought I was so confident about that I had to learn.
Yeah.
Didn't make any sense. Certain things I was doing, I had to come to an understanding that I didn't have to do that. You don't have to, respond this way. You don't have to. But maybe that's life. That's what the journey is, I guess, learning that,
And people were grilling you about your fucking fitness regimen and all that other shit. Like they were trying to crack you. So you'd be like, you know what? You're right. There's a fucking portrait of an addict, me in an attic somewhere, just aging
Yeah,
horribly,
that's
and or you beat the devil in a fiddle, Matt. You know what I mean? Like I was like, the guy just works out and takes care of himself, for fuck's sake. You know?
Yeah, I think it's common sense stuff. I mean, I never really just common sense. I think we all know. Like I said, there's an inner guide that that I was talking about earlier that I think will guide us, and I think we know what we should and shouldn't do.
Yeah,
We don't listen. We think someone else has a better idea or is going to make it easy so we won't have to do. But you know what you need to do. You know when you're overeating. You know when you're not
yeah,
getting enough sleep. You know when you need to just get up and move.
yep.
And most of us don't have the discipline to, and I think there's a part of us that is almost on the verge of self-destructing.
Oh God.
It's almost like there's a little thing that kind of talks us into doing the worst things to ourselves. And we
Hmm.
know there's a consequence. We're not going to pay for it, but it's still there. Now
Yeah,
there's the other side, like the old cartoons where they had the ghosts, the
yeah. The
angel and
devil and
the
the angel. Yeah,
yeah. But so I think that it's something innately about us that will, but you kind of have to know what you know you're going to be around. This is the only body you're going to have. You got to live in this body. I just did the Shuri show when my son was on there,
mm.
and we introduced him, um, and and she was. The clip actually went viral, but impressed that because he's 60 now, but he looks younger as well.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but yeah, life goes on, but in case you keep living, you don't want to be impaired. You want to be able to um, do the things that you want to do that has meaning,
yeah.
as long as you can. Now, there are things we can't control, but the things we can control, we should be aware of it. And I was always being a single dad, and later marrying our two. I have two from my first marriage and two kids, but I was always aware that they're watching. Kids always watching. So a lot of
Yeah.
things that I would say you really shouldn't do, I want to make sure that I wasn't doing that myself.
Yeah.
So.
Well, my girlfriend wants me to live till I'm like 90, so I'm just taking notes from you here, like at this point, because I don't know, I run, I bike, I do all that kind of shit too, but I'm trying, man. It's hard.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
it's
turned
hard.
40 last year. I'll be 41 in November.
Oh wow, that yeah, you're a year older than my grandson. You'll be
Oh,
40 in November. Yeah.
oh, cool. Yeah. Oh,
So
wow. Nice.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah. November 28th is my, when's his?
yeah, is November 20th. So
Oh, shit.
he's a 20th.
Oh, sweet.
But and he's well, kids are amazing. So
Yeah, yeah,
um,
absolutely. So the second question though I was going to ask is, what had to end in your life, good or bad, that led
uh,
you to where you are today?
okay, what was the first part again? Sorry.
What had to end in your life, good or bad, that led you to where
Uh,
you are today?
what had to end? Oh, that's interesting. Well, I, the only thing that comes, which is true, but it's kind of hard to say. But my first marriage, I
Mm.
think I got married really young, and I was 18, and she was 16, and as much as we came from the same place, and I think we in the early stages really helped each other, but it definitely had to end for anything to really come out. So, and I
Right.
married believing that marriage was for life, and so even though the marriage was really difficult, I didn't believe I had the option to
Sure.
end it, and I felt really bad when I knew there was no other choice. But I realize now that that had to end. Sometimes some relationships are just you need to get out of, and it
Yeah.
was hard for me to accept that, but that was true, and I realize now that there was no resolving that other than it yeah,
How
but
did
that's what
you,
comes
how
to
did
mind.
you, yeah, how did you wind up getting through that, at that time? Did you lean on friends and other family members or?
Well, I think it's. I was determined to, just be miserable for the rest of my life, and but I think I was going. I was introduced to acting, and I certainly wasn't making any money and doing very well financially. And she had a great job and was doing great and was sort of, you know, and I think she ended it. She basically, ended it, and that was, I think that made it kind of okay for me because, like, okay, well,
Mhm.
so yeah, she was kind of at the height of her, growing and yeah, so she ended
Yeah,
it, thank God, and later on, I think she kind of regret that she did.
sure.
Um, but
She saw Ghostbusters and was like, "What the fuck did I do?" You know.
yeah,
It's like Jesus Christ,
she saw my T-shirt photo from a year ago and said, "Oh my God, now that."
right, dude? That's gotta feel good. Especially, I imagine you just actually sending it to all your exes, like, "Yeah, this is what you fucking, this is what you missed out on.
Right,
Could have been
yeah.
with this."
Right.
Oh, that's great. And the last question I got for you ties into the theme of the show. It's Dystopia tonight. So if this was I mean, I feel like saying it this way now is wrong, but if this was a genuine dystopia, more so than it is now, we'll say, uh, and you found out tomorrow everybody had 24 hours left to live, what are you going to be doing? What do you think would cause it? Like, and that's up to you. It could be as ridiculous as aliens, zombies, whatever, or it could be climate change, comet, political collapse. But what's going to cause it, and what's your epic death? How you going out?
Oh wow. Okay, so what would cause it? Just political calamity.
All right,
People doubling down on stupidity. You know what I mean? It's like
sweet,
we're
yeah,
going over the cliff and nobody's going to acknowledge it. We're going to
right.
just, we're going to ride this out. Um, and and death would be welcome, but not everybody would be able to die. We're just going
Oh,
to have to live in that awfulness, wishing we could just check out and there's no out.
oh, that's
Um,
fucking dark. That's great.
yeah, that's so yeah, I think and not having a way back. You know what I mean? I would say we're counting
Mm,
on the creator or ancestors, those guides, when they just
yeah.
give up on us and they disappear. And then so there's no help coming from anywhere, but we're just stuck with our stupidity. Um, so yeah, that would be the worst, that you wish somebody
Yeah.
would drop a bomb and end it all, but it's just, it's just we're just
Yeah.
stuck in the yeah.
So now
Anyway,
you're describing now. Uh,
yeah, it does. Beginning to seem a little familiar now. Yeah.
that is honest to God. That's probably the darkest answer that I've gotten, and I fucking love it, man. That was real as shit. I'm like, oh, good. No, everything that I'm feeling is reconfirmed right here, right now by Ernie Hudson. That's phenomenal. Dude, thank you so much for doing this and for making everything you make and staying creative and healthy and being a good force for good in the world, man. I appreciate you and appreciate you coming on and spending time.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I really appreciate you too, man. So good luck with everything you're doing, the comedy especially. I got to come and check you out, but
Yeah,
just keep
please.
being you, and yeah, and hopefully look forward to talking again.
Thanks so much, man. Appreciate it. Hang on
All
one
right.
second. Just gonna put you backstage and then. Yeah.
Dystopia tonight.